And hello and welcome to Open, the show that opens the Bronx and the rest of the world right to you. I am Daren, Jaime, and today we'll update you on what's happening in and around our borough and New York City. Coming up, we'll talk about a music documentary detailing the life and stories behind one of the most remarkable bands of the 20th century that few people know of. Next, we'll explore how one program is transforming and empowering the lives of youth with paid opportunities. Then, we learn about the transformative journey of a remarkable individual whose life and work embodied the essence of perseverance as well as self-improvement. Finally, we'll look into the world of children's literature with one series celebrating and educating children about Black heritage through the lens of traditional hairstyles. So stay tuned because all this and much more is heading your way. Right now, we're officially open. And hello, everyone. I am Daren Jaime. You're now watching Open, a live program bringing the Bronx and New York City straight to you. We also want to welcome our viewers to Manhattan Neighborhood Network, as Open is being broadcast simultaneously on MNN's channels. You can stay connected to us on all of our social media platforms at BronxNet TV. Some things have been going on through the past week. We'll take you through it with some Bronx updates. Well, we kick off our show with education news. New York City schools are contemplating implementing a cell phone ban by early next year with a possible start date in February. School principals have been briefed on the potential ban and informed each school will be responsible for establishing its own rules. The rules can include collecting devices at the start of the day or requiring students to place the phones in magnetically locked cloth cases. Now, additionally, schools might need to purchase cubbies or other storage solutions for students' phones. A spokesperson for the Department of Education stated, quote, "No final decisions have been made regarding the proposed ban timeline." Well, in other news, restaurant owners not applying for the Dining Out NYC program must begin dismantling their outdoor setups. The application deadline for this outdoor dining initiative was on August the 3rd. Those who fail to remove their setups face fines of $500 for the first offense, $1,000 for each subsequent offense until compliant. Participants in the new program are required to pay separate licensing fees. According to official estimates, the new outdoor designs are expected to cost tens of thousands of dollars. Additionally, new regulations mandate sidewalk sheds can only be constructed seasonally. The outdoor dining season will end on November 29th. And will resume again on April the 1st. Hard to believe the dining season is coming to an end in the outdoors. Well, in health news, a nationwide listeria outbreak has prompted the recall of 7 million pounds of meat and poultry products, impacting residents in 13 states. The recall includes 71 products produced between May 10th and July 29th of 2024 and is linked to an outbreak causing dozens of hospitalizations and 2 fatalities. The affected products, sold under the Boar's Head and Old Country brand names, include various types of ham, bologna, bacon, sausage, hot dogs, and more. The items were distributed nationwide by have sell-by dates ranging from July 29th, 2024 to August 17th of 2024. Now, this is the second recall associated with the listeria outbreak, emphasizing the severity and widespread impact of the contamination. Well, that's all the time we have for our Bronx updates. Stay with us. Guess what? We're taking a quick break. We have more Open when we return.
Hey, creative family. My name is Timothy Coleman, and I'm the Director of Education here at BronxNet. And I'm standing in BronxNet's Media and Technology Studios in the South Bronx. because I want to let you know about an amazing program that we're bringing back that highlights the creativity of community members just like you. Emerging Media Makers is a show that introduces you to BronxNet certified producers. They've taken a step in their creative journey by enrolling in BronxNet's media training classes. On this show, you'll get to see the many ways that our certified producers have created a space that's all their own. Emerging Media Makers, your passion lives here.
And welcome back. Getting It Back, the story of Samande is a film delving into the life and legacy of one of the most remarkable yet underappreciated bands of the 20th century. This documentary captures the incredible journey of a band of Black British musicians who immigrated from the Caribbean to the UK as children. Joining us now is filmmaker Tim MacKenzie-Smith, who shares with us a little bit about Samande. And glad to have you, Tim.
Hey, good to be here.
Thank you. And when we talk about Samande, obviously, as I said in the intro, a lot of people really not so familiar. But when we look at the work and the life that Samande has brought out, really revolutionary.
That's right. They originally did 3 albums in the 1970s and had quite a bit of success in the US. They got in the top 20 in the R&B charts. They toured with Al Green, and they were the first British artists to play at the Apollo in Harlem. But every time they came back to the UK, they just couldn't get any traction. They couldn't get any gigs, and they sort of took a break that ended up being about 40 years long. And in the meantime, what happened was hip hop started, and of course in the Bronx, was where it was born. And Samande's music was part of those early days of hip hop. Firstly, in the park jams and the block parties in the late 70s, early 80s. Where their song Bra in particular was a really big tune. And then sampling really kicked off in the mid 80s, and their music became really, quite important in those early days of sampling as well, because a lot of the kids who raided their parents' record collections in the 80s, they found music because their records were bought in the US rather than the UK. And then subsequent generations of different genres found some. The albums, the original albums, became real collector's items. So it was a kind of the States and New York in particular was really important to kind of keeping their legacy going.
Yeah. And Tim, let me jump in here to ask this question here. When we talk about the influence of Samande, not just on the culture itself, but on artists who really we know today. Talk to us a little bit about that influence that they've had on contemporary artists, particularly, R&B, hip hop.
That's right. I mean, a lot of artists joined us on the film to talk about how much influence Samande had on them. Whether it was coming to its fans or seeing something in the production that they liked. Someone like Cut Chemist, who was part of Jurassic 5, he talked about how the bass lines in Samande really influenced how he worked as a producer. And many artists found something that they loved in Samande. And so it was a real joy for me, really, because I'm a big music fan, and I got to speak to a lot of my music heroes to essentially chat with them about people who we had a shared fandom of, So we were very lucky in who we were able to get, because the influence of Samande is very, very quiet and not very well known. But, it's one of those things that if you know, and it becomes a very personal thing as well. They're like someone's secret password that you share with your friends, and you hope that they share with their friends,
Talk to me about what you're hoping that people will take away from the film.
Well, I hope that if they have never heard of Samande before, that they'll take away that this is music that they should get to know, and that the story of Samande is one of believing in yourself when other people didn't, especially in their case in the UK, doing their own thing when people were telling them, well, if you want success, you need to sound like someone else, but they believed in their own, doing it their way, and they thought they'd failed ultimately in the 70s. But as it turned out, they were correct. It just took them 50 years to prove it. And so I think that's the most important thing. And for me as a filmmaker, making documentaries about bands that aren't very well known is a very, very difficult thing. And you find times yourself where you think, am I doing the right thing? Is this ever going to get out there? And so I always clung to that, thinking, well, this is the whole story that we're telling is one of perseverance and self-belief, and believing that if you build it, they will come, as it were. So yeah, I think that's the main thing. If you believe in your art, you keep going, and eventually, hopefully, you find your audience.
Yeah, I got to ask the question about the UK, because there is a difference between the UK and US when it comes to music. How was Samande received on both sides, both the UK and the US?
In the US, they were received pretty well. They did tour with Al Green when he was really at the height of his powers. When he was playing stadiums to like 40, 50, 60,000 people. And they played 5 nights at the Apollo, which is unheard of for a British artist. And they were part of something big in the US. But in the UK, nothing happened at all. They couldn't get on TV, they couldn't get on the radio, and they couldn't get gigs, really, not decent ones. So in those days, it really was. They toured the US twice. They had great times doing it both times. And every time they came back, they think, well, maybe now the UK might get to know us or get to hear about us, but still nothing. So it was really the US and New York in particular were really important parts of this story, really. Initially in the fact that they took to them when they were actually active in the 70s. And then later, as we found out with hip hop and sampling, it was that sort of musical revolution that was born in the Bronx and in New York. It was key to Samande, their legacy keeping going and ultimately bringing them back.
Yeah. Before I let you go, Tim, I'll ask you the question. Are you optimistic, given the fact that a lot of people don't know about Samande, but yet and still the film is coming out, the film's there, then you've got also new music that's set to be released in 2024. Between the combination of both, are you optimistic that maybe even in the UK and other places that the name of Samande and the music of Samande will be more captured?
Yeah, I am optimistic, actually, and we already released the movie in theaters in the UK, and it got really good reception. And the noise that the album is going to make, I think, is going to be really important. I think the fact that because of the movie, pretty big record label came on board to then start up the process of the new album. And then hopefully the hopeful success of the new album and the kind of the promotion that the album can give could then hopefully make people pick up on the movie again, So hopefully it will all kind of work in lockstep.
Yeah. Well, Tim MacKenzie-Smith, we got to leave it there. Thank you so much for joining us. Hopefully, as we said, people will take more light of Samande. And if you want more information, please go ahead and visit the website at samandeofficial.com. There you can find out about the music as well as the film. We encourage you, don't go anywhere. We do have more open coming up right after this. Welcome back. There's a new campaign from Cultural Probiotics and Global Conservation Not-for-Profit. Wild is highlighting the similarities between endangered ecosystems on Earth and endangered ecosystem within the human gut microbiome. And here now, sharing more, we got the Vice President of Communications Marketing at Rewild, Robert D. Moore, and we thank you, Dr. Moore, for coming and being with us today.
Great to be here. Thank you for having me.
So thank you. And when we talk a little bit about protecting biodiversity, there's an importance, I feel, and there's an importance about protecting them within the ecosystems. Can you share with us a little bit about this?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, biodiversity is the fabric of life on our planet. It's what keeps ecosystems ticking, and Earth's ecosystems are what sustain us. So they are our first line of defense against emerging disease, climate chaos, and they provide us everything from clean water, air, food, medicines. So they're essential, to our survival. But research shows that populations of wildlife have declined by almost 70% since 1970. And this loss of biodiversity can have significant impact on the ecosystem. It disrupts the ecosystem's ability to function. So at Rewild, we believe that healthy people need a healthy planet. So that's why protecting and restoring the fabric of life on our only shared home is at the heart of everything that we do.
For someone who may not be so familiar about the ecosystem, can you break that down for us? How important is it and what exactly is it?
Yeah, so our internal ecosystem, there are striking similarities. So when cultural probiotics approached us a couple of months ago, we noticed some really interesting parallels between the ecosystems of our world and the ecosystems within. So the gut microbiome is made up of trillions of living, breathing bacteria and is also facing a loss of biodiversity. So data shows it's lost nearly half of its microbial diversity over the last 70 years. So we'll see a lot of similarities between ecosystems like the Amazon rainforest, the coral reefs, and the gut itself, which is an ecosystem at risk. So Rewild, we often say that rewilding the world starts with rewilding ourselves and really recognizing we're not separate from nature, we are a part of nature.
And so for us who are out there right now, what can we do to better serve, better protect?
Yeah, so we've teamed up with Cultural Probiotics on to help draw attention to the similarities between the ecosystems at risk, ecosystems outside, ecosystems within. And I think the first step is sort of understanding, biodiversity, what it is, its influence. And through this campaign, people can find out more information about what they can do. We have a website, protectthegut.com. So if people want more information about steps they can take, that information is on that website.
As we talk about microbiome and the gut microbiome campaign, obviously very important. Talk a little bit about the background as to what led into this and how we are here today.
Yeah, so the campaign is essentially Rewild teamed up with Cultural Probiotics, recognizing the parallels. And, just like so many of Earth's biomes, the forests, the oceans, the grasslands, the human gut microbiome is vulnerable. And similar to the ecosystems of our world that Rewild works to protect and restore, the gut is faced with a barrage of threats to its biodiversity. So really together, we teamed up to use the Protect the Gut Microbiome campaign to raise awareness of the importance of protecting biodiversity in all ecosystems, both inside and out, because essentially we must take care of ourselves to take care of the planet.
Share with me a little bit about the awareness, because as you're on this awareness campaign and making the public more aware, certainly I'm learning, and I think most people will say that they have the opportunity to learn a little bit more. From your perspective, give me a little bit about the awareness campaign. When you talk about this, as you're sharing this, what's the public feedback? Are they receptive? Are they like, first time I'm hearing about this? What are you getting?
I mean, this specific campaign we're just launching, but Rewild has been in sort of the business of protecting and restoring the wild for many years. I've been doing this for decades. I think biodiversity is a big, complex, nebulous issue, and I think, but people are starting to become aware of the importance of it. I think we are starting to see the repercussions of what happens when our ecosystems are degraded and depleted of biodiversity. There's a high risk of infectious outbreaks like pandemics. We see increase of threat of harm from catastrophic weather events, floods, hurricanes, which of course are exacerbated by a loss of biodiversity and our ecosystems. So I think people are starting to connect the dots, and I think at Rewild, we're really focused on breaking it down to make it accessible for people, because we know the solutions, and we've seen what happens when you not only halt the destruction of an ecosystem, but when you actually restore its biodiversity. And we have seen that ecosystems can recover and be restored. So, I think just connecting with the biodiversity around us and within us, understanding it and taking steps to protect and restore it is something that everybody can do in their everyday lives.
Yeah. There's some people said that ecosystems could not be restored, but here you are saying, yes, it can be restored. Can you share a little bit more about the restoration effort and the positive effect of that?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen with my own eyes what happens when you restore an ecosystem. We're working a lot in Haiti, for example, that's got less than 1% of its original forest standing. We are working with local partners there who are restoring magnolia trees to an area around the buffer forest. And what we see is that the soil that was being eroded, that had nothing holding it together, is suddenly becoming healthier. The trees are acting as a buffer, they're stopping erosion. And the people living in these areas in which are protected and restored are better off. They have clean water, they have more food security. So yeah, I've seen with my own eyes that we can actually restore areas. I've been to islands that have been were completely degraded, lunar landscapes, and are now sort of lush oases of life. So absolutely, we can turn it around. Nature, biodiversity can be resilient. We have to give it a chance.
Yeah. And when we neglect the critical ecosystems that are out there, talk to me a little bit about those consequences again. What are some of the consequences we have there?
Yeah, it's, where I'd say biodiversity is sort of the buffer that protects us. It's the immune system of the planet. So when we lose it and when we degrade ecosystems, we are at higher risk of infectious outbreaks of disease. We are at risk of these catastrophic weather events. I spoke about restoration in Haiti. I think it's a stark example of many areas that have been completely denuded of biodiversity. And what you get is just, you have no protection. The soil becomes unusable. You can't grow things. So, I think the repercussions of losing biodiversity, of losing our ecosystems are starting to be felt, I think, more and more by people around the world who are sort of on the front lines of that kind of change.
Yeah. Well, certainly we want to thank you for taking the time and sharing with us, Dr. Moore, and we appreciate it. But before we go, I got to ask you the question. If somebody's out there, where do they get more information?
Yeah, so to learn more about the campaign, you can go to protectthegut.com.
Certainly, go to protectthegut.com. Dr. Robert Moore, thank you so much for being with us. We appreciate having you talking about some very critical things to ecosystems, and certainly enjoyed the conversation. Thanks a lot.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
All righty. We want our viewers to know, please don't go anywhere. We got more Open coming up right after this. Welcome back. The Oyate Group is dedicated to bridging gaps in services as well as resources, focusing on empowering marginalized groups, including youth, small businesses, and local artists. One of their notable programs is offering valuable career readiness skills and professional experience And here now to share more is the program coordinator at the Oyate Group, Kimberly Troncoso, and then also Beyond Rising interns at BronxNet, Jody-Ann and Leomary. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thanks for having us.
So you do a great job, really, of dealing with some of the issues that we're talking about in society, things that people tend to walk away from. You take on front and center. So talk a little bit about the mission of the Oyate Group.
So the Oyate Group is a Bronx-based nonprofit organization, and our mission is to alleviate poverty. And we really try to do that by the different programs that we have. So right now we're focusing on youth programs, small business empowerment, and just basically filling in resource gaps in our community.
And so the both of you were actually interns as well. And so I'll start first with you, Jody-Ann. Talk to us about your internship and what did you do within the internship?
So basically, Beyond Rising connects us with different sites that we'll be able to intern at. So we got placed at BronxNet, and here we help out with different things on a day-to-day basis. Sometimes we're floor managers helping to check in the guests, miking them up and so forth, and then other times we're camera assistants helping with the filming of the show.
Yeah. Leomary, it's interesting working here?
Yes. The first thing, our first talk when we were learning about cameras and stuff, we were like, what if we messed up? Mm-hmm. Yeah, because the way it was explained, it wasn't the same how virtual learning. Mm-hmm. It was different, but yeah, we were able to manage.
Yeah, a little nervous. What if I mess up on the camera?
Yes, yeah.
Look, I mess up on camera every week, so don't even worry about it. You're good. So you just catch up. Yeah. Obviously, it's a great feeling to really have this kind of work integrated. You're talking about alleviating poverty, but at the same time, providing opportunity for young people to be exposed to so many different things.
Yes, it really is. And I'm just grateful to be a part of Oyate Group and the great work that we're doing and just servicing and filling in resource gaps and just addressing needs in our community.
Yeah. So. And so when you talk about the program itself, I want to just ask you, how has the work that you've done helped you for the next level?
So on Fridays, we have a Friday session at the Oyate headquarters, and sometimes we have professional development workshops. Mm-hmm. So one of the workshops I want to note is we learned about email etiquette and professional conversations that you have in the professional field. So I feel like I could definitely apply those skills to my career in the future, dealing with my boss and higher ups, emails, and so forth.
Yeah, one thing, another professional workshop, it was about financial literacy, and it's basically we learned about
all different types of things with finances.
Yeah, it was budgeting, budgeting. How to spend your money wisely and
right.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
And we thought it'd be a meaningful workshop to incorporate because we do give them a stipend as well.
Right.
So just being able to give them the resource and another resource so they can spend it, smartly, was something that we really wanted to incorporate into the program.
So you feel like you had fun as well as some professional development throughout the course?
Yeah, it was a perfect blend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. What was the thing that you learned the most? I mean, taking away this experience, what was the biggest thing you took away?
Well, we improved our communication and listening skills because those are basic skills that we need in the workplace.
Right.
So I'm an architecture major, and those are the basic skills that I will need in order to interact with the client. So yeah, I feel like this internship helped me a lot to improve those skills and teamwork as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like the internship basically just helped me see how real world jobs would be because it's very hard to try to get opportunities to have a job or internships as an undocumented student. So with Oyate's help, I was able to see this is how it is, this is real, and it was basically my first job. So it was a really exciting moment for me.
Yeah. I think sometimes people take for granted communication, that they think it's just so easy.
Yeah.
When you find out it's not. Well, communication is just communication. There's a whole lot to it. But as you guys have learned, ladies have learned, it's been so much helpful so helpful, I should say, for your future that you really can apply it, not just for the job, but just like even in life. And that's what you want. You want them to have these life experiences that are really catered to developing them as young men and women to move forward, right?
Yeah, exactly. And one thing that we really aim to do is to diversify our partnerships, just to give each intern a very different path and expose them to different horizons.
And so you've got some success stories about people who've come through the program. What are some of the more notable ones that you've had?
So I'll tell you a notable achievement. So Leomary and Jody-Ann actually created the opening for a show on BronxNet. It aired August 1st. It's for La Finca del Sur, the Mott Haven Community Garden. And it's called Eating Healthy at La Finca. And so they were able to create an opening and also the closing, I believe, for the show. And it aired here, so that's a very notable achievement that we're really proud of.
Yeah. What was that like?
It was stressful. Video editing is like so hard. I don't know how people do it, but we had a lot of fun. Like that was such a great hands-on experience. Yeah.
Once you learn it, it sticks with you.
Yeah, I feel like now it's stuck.
Now it's stuck now?
Yeah.
But was there let me put it like, was there a moment where you felt like I can't do this?
Yes.
Yeah, the very first day, yeah.
The very first
no.
day, right?
Yeah.
We were like, no. We were stuck on literally just transitions, and it took us at least like 3 hours. We were like, we barely did anything. Yeah. Yeah.
And
But
the
now-
second day, we were able to finish it.
Right.
Yeah.
So you feel confident now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A bit.
A bit,
Maybe.
just a little bit.
Yeah.
Better than before, so.
Better,
Yeah.
better than when you
right?
first started. I have an idea. If it made it to air, then that means you did a real good job.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
So what's next? I mean, what do you feel is next after having this experience?
We're college students, so basically, the semester's about to start, but I think like August 28th or something like that. So just focusing on my studies and then also more opportunities that my college offers for job placement and so forth.
We also plan to keep the networking with Beyond Rising at the Oyate group as well. So,
Right.
yeah.
Now you got partnerships. I mean, you got partnerships with us. You got Fordham
Yeah.
University. I think who else? We got Columbia University as well, right?
Yes.
So when you have partnerships like that, how do they make the difference in the lives of young people?
So placing our interns in established institutions, like local colleges and nonprofit organizations, it just exposes them to a variety of experiences that will just strengthen them along the way.
Well, Kimberly, thank you for joining us. Jody-Ann, Leomary, thank you.
Thank you.
I hope we
thank
didn't
you.
make it too rough on you. You
It
guys
was
got
okay.
good to have you. Thank you so much. And
you.
congratulations.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
All righty. Now, listen, if you want more information, I encourage you to do me a favor. Visit the website, oyategroup.org, and then follow them on Instagram and Twitter at Oyate Group. All right, don't go anywhere. We've got more open coming up right after this. And welcome back. From overcoming the challenges of a disenfranchised upbringing to becoming the beacon of inspiration for countless others, our next guest has dedicated his career to helping people conquer self-doubt as well as embrace their full potential. He's actually created and authored a self-help book offering profound insights into overcoming self-limiting beliefs and embracing the power of self-confidence. Joining me now is the author of The Audacity of Doubt, Otis D. Gore, and congratulations.
Thank you, my man. What's
Good
up,
to
man?
have you, man.
I've been watching this guy for a long time.
I've been on for a long time. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
How's it going, man?
I'm good. How are you, man? I mean, it's got to be a great feeling. The book is being released, and
Yes,
here we
sir.
go.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I mean, hopefully looking forward to great things. And I wanted to put this out there because I know that everyone says there's a book in everybody, which is true. You just got to push through and you got to actually put in the process to actually bring it to fruition.
Right. So here we are talking about the audacity of doubt. What made you focus on doubt?
So all my life, I've always been put in a position of like leadership or mentorship or coaching. So everyone always came to me for advice. I don't know why, but they did. And I always thought to myself, you know what? I realized that a lot of people that I talk to want to do things in their lives, but they don't take the step. They're more intrigued by it. So I always tell them there's a difference between being intrigued, believing you can do it, and truly believing you can do it. So when you're intrigued by something, there's a lot of things that you're intrigued about. So you would say, hey, that look cool, that look cool, that look cool, but am I willing to take some steps? And then you get to the point where you might believe you could do something. And then when you start to believe it, you take a couple of steps, some adversity comes, and then you're like, maybe it's not for me. But then there's that point where you truly believe you could do something, where you get knocked down, you look up, you see the ceiling, you get right back up. That's when you know. That's when you push through the fear and you push through the doubt, and you're really going towards your destiny.
In the book, you talking about imposter syndrome.
Yes.
And I think for our viewers, it's important for them to know what is imposter syndrome, because I think there's so many people who are paralyzed by it, don't even know it.
Sometimes what happens is when we got put into a place or a room or a situation or an opportunity, we feel like we don't belong there. We feel like an imposter. We feel like, wow, why did this happen to me? But what they don't understand, what people don't understand is whatever you did previously in your life, whatever you put forth might have got you there, because everything is about the choices that you make. So the other day, someone was asking me, I feel like I should be somewhere else in your life. And I told them, you are exactly where you should be, because that's where you are. If you want to be someplace else, then you got to, in order to go someplace you've never been before, you got to become somebody you've never been before. So you got to look at yourself, because the most important relationship you could have is with yourself.
One of the topics that you talked about that really got me was the talk about vulnerability.
Yeah.
Because I think so many people don't embrace it.
Right.
You're encouraging people to embrace vulnerability. Why?
So a lot of things that goes on, especially where we come from in our lives, we're destitute, we come from a place of disenchantment and everything. And you have to embrace everything that's coming your way, even the things that you don't that may not have came your way or just came in, but you also got to embrace the things that you're actually going to pursue. Because what happens with a lot of people's thought process is they get used to certain habits, and those habits keep them in a certain space. So I always tell people, you don't create your future, you create good habits, and those habits create your future. And one thing that we can't do is live in the past, because the past don't live in the future, only unless you live there.
That's powerful.
Yeah, well, I try to be.
Hey, listen, it's all in the book.
It's all in the book.
Otis D. Gore's book is called The Audacity of Doubt.
Yes.
And when you talk about doubt, what really brought you to the place of saying, doubt is what I'm going to focus on?
So I wanted to focus on doubt because I call it audacity because it's the nerve of the feeling to stop you every time you want to do something. There are people now, there's people watching, there's people in the studio that may not be where they want to be, but they got a thought on where they would like to be, but they're afraid to take that step.
Right.
There's a saying that says, I'd rather die leaping in fear than to constantly stand on the edge and wonder what could have been. So you have to go there. When I put this book together, that was my thought. I was like, Otis, you always told yourself, hey, I could do a book. I'd like to do a book. Well, why not just do it? And even myself had a little bit of doubt. What if nobody buy it? I just went for it. It was a long process, but I went for it.
How long a process?
I started writing this book probably 2 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, probably 2 years ago. I just thought. So sometimes when I go on a morning run, I have this thing in my phone called book notes. And I might think of something and be like, oh, stop, put it in.
Right.
Then there it goes. That's really, it came to fruition. So before I knew it, I had 13 chapters.
And there it is.
And there it is.
So of course our camera's got the cover, but for you, how much did doubt kick in this process?
The doubt kicked in in this process when I didn't have anything to write. There was a time when I didn't write anything for like a month, 2 months, and I'm saying to myself, what am I gonna do? Like, why did I even start? And then all of a sudden, I just get inspired by something, and then I just go. And then I'll hear someone speak, and they'll say something, a word or a phrase, and I'll be like, hey, I could write about that. That sounds good. So there's stories, there's quotes. Every quote that's in the book, I give the person who did the quote, I give them the credit, of course, because it's not all me.
Right.
I wish it was, but it's not all me. But my doubt came from the fact that, hey, if I'm gonna tell you to push through, through limited beliefs to live your best life, and I'm not even trying to pushing through to get the book out, how would I look? I look hypocritical.
Right.
You know, so I push to get the book to this point, and it's self-published. So I started my own publishing company, the Kalo Press, to put the book out, and I appreciate being here with this gentleman here. I've watched this guy for a long time.
Thank you.
You know, I know he's not a Giant fan, so good.
That's right. Philly all the way, baby. Eagles.
Philly, oh, yeah. I like the quarterback. Yeah.
All right, that's right. You gotta like the quarterback.
You gotta like the
Listen,
quarterback.
but I want to get to this point here because you talk about pushing through, right?
Pushing through.
But also in the book, you also talk about leveling up.
Yes.
So pushing through, leveling up,
Yeah.
make it make sense.
So what a lot of people do, I call it living in your settlement. People live in their settlement, meaning whatever you're doing in your life, that's not what you set out to do. That's not what your goal is. That's not what wakes you up every morning. But you settle for it because your bills are paid, you got a roof over your head. I'm okay. It's easy to just get settled in. But yet, only a certain percentage of people actually push to live the life they truly believe that they're supposed to live. Most of us don't. Most of us succumb to the pressure. And we may be okay, and I got a job, I'm this, I'm whatever I'm doing, it pays the bills, but that gets you settled, that gets you complacent. You know, and you don't want to be complacent when you're trying to reach for a goal. You know, and that's what I mean, living in your settlement. You got to really push out of that. There's a phrase that says, you can't see the frame if you're still in the picture. You got to step outside the box.
For people who want to get this book, what do you hope that they take away when they read it?
I hope that they take away the thought process of really, really striving and really grinding. And the way that I wrote the book is I wrote it in chapters. Like the first chapter is about time. You never know how much time you got. The second chapter is to begin. You got to begin. The hardest thing to do is to begin. And then the next chapter is about mindset. You got to have the correct mindset to push through. And then the next chapter is about growth and then fear. And so everything goes. So what they can do is use it as a reference. So for example, if you're having an issue with value, your value, then you can, there's a section on value. You go back and read the value section. If you know, I got to get my time together, like how much time I got, you go back and read time. So you can use it like that.
So you talked about the concept of gamification, I should say, you know, in personal development.
Right.
I want you to just elaborate a little bit about that.
About what's the question?
It's the concept of gamification in personal development.
Yeah. So it's hard. It's crazy because this particular genre, personal development, it stems on somebody or someone or people always trying to get better every day. Like I said in the beginning, your most important relationship you have in your life is the one you have with yourself. You know, you look in the mirror, just like the old African proverb, there's no enemy within, the enemy outside could do you no harm, right? I always agree, I always believe that people need to try to get as good as they can every day to try to become the best person you can be. If someone asks you, hey, Daren, how you doing today? Trying to be better than the day before. Right. That's what you say, right?
Right?
I'm always trying to be better than the day before. And if I know that I have to show and prove, if I'm telling you what to do, then I got to be myself, that person. I got to be that vision that you say, oh, you know what? I see Otis is doing something. Let me see what's going on. When I go for a morning run, and sometimes I'll jog by a bus stop, you don't never know who you're influencing. You never know. Somebody might be like, they might see me run and be like, oh, I got to get back in the gym.
Yeah.
Or I got to get back running. You know, you never know. You know, I went to a transformation myself because I came down, I was like 275 pounds or so.
275?
I was a big guy. But when I did my total transformation, I ate healthy, worked out for a while, long time, grew a beard.
Yeah.
So did a lot of stuff.
Right.
You know, I just kind of did a whole 360. In order for me to do that 360, you know, I had to really push and really truly believe I can actually get there. And that was the whole part. I know you mentioned earlier to the guy in the first segment, you said you got to be optimistic.
Right.
Right. It's a true statement. I actually have an acronym that I came up with my name, OTIS, Otis, and that is optimistic thoughts inspire success.
Wow. Okay.
That's Otis. So when you said that, I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Optimism is huge, but optimism is also the enemy of doubt, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, so.
Or doubt is the enemy of
it
optimism.
It is. So that's a good point, and that's the reason why you got to stay optimistic. You know, because we all gonna have doubt, even now today. Even me, I wrote this book and wanted to do well, but there's still some things that I may have some doubt about. you know, but I still got to push it. If it's something I truly believe I want, then I got to go. I got to push through. And that's what everybody should do. You got to push through. Because I know most people these days are not actually living the life that they truly believe that they should.
Yeah. Well, it's been a pleasure having you.
Thank you, sir.
You got to come back, man.
I will come back, man.
Listen, we'll unpack this some more, and then maybe another book too. And
yeah, absolutely.
Is that in the future or what?
Yeah, absolutely.
I know you got to get through this first phase
this
right here, but
yeah,
once you get the first one out.
Yes, I'm going to call it The Audacity of Daren and Jaime telling me to write another book.
There it is. You heard it here first. When it comes out, tell him he got inspired right here.
He got inspired right here.
That's it. Otis D. Gore, author of The Audacity of Doubt. Now listen, if you want more information, visit the website at otisdgoreauthor.com. We encourage you, don't go anywhere. We got more open coming up right after this. Congratulations again.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate
yes,
you.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate you.
19.7% of Bronxites currently experience food insecurity. Meanwhile, instead of these nice, colorful foods, this is the best food that they have access to. If this sounds like you, there are a bunch of resources to get healthy food for free or cheap. If you want to help, you might consider donating or volunteering in one of these places. Community fridges like this one are all over the city, and allow New Yorkers to conveniently donate extra food to people who might need it. Go to this link and find your nearest one. Food banks and pop-up events like these provide millions of healthy meals to families in need. These organizations are distributing meals to Bronxites as we speak, and are always accepting donations and volunteers.
And we are back. Our next guest wrote 2 books exploring the powerful messages, celebrating the beauty and significance of traditional Black hairstyles. Now, these works not only educate, but also inspire children to cherish their heritage and then see the beauty in their unique hairstyles. Joining me now is author Zenda Walker, and thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
I was captivated because when I looked and I saw the title, it says, Know Your Heritage. Not heritage, but heritage.
Absolutely.
So what are you talking about? Heritage in the eyes of Blacks, African Americans,
yes,
people
and
of color?
of
Huge.
course. So heritage, the traditional word heritage means the traditions, practices, customs, and beliefs that are passed down from a predecessor or an ancestor. And so when we talk about heritage, H-A-I-R, right?
Right.
I-T-A-G-E, we're talking about the hair customs, traditions, practices, and beliefs that are passed down. And what I like to say is that everyone has a heritage story, right? Stories that link to your childhood experiences, your adult experiences, but also your broader history.
Yeah. And so here you are, authoring Heritage and talking about, you've got 2 different ones, Zara's Wash Day and Zion's Grown. Unpack this for us.
Okay, so I was inspired to write Zara's Wash Day in 2020 during the pandemic.
COVID, right?
Yes. And it was just an interesting time for a lot of people, right? We were struck with this fear of not really understanding what COVID was. We were all isolating. As a mom, I was homeschooling and trying to work a corporate job.
Right.
And then we were hit with this civil unrest in America. And so during that time, I had more meaningful time with my daughter on our hair wash days. And hair wash days are so important for African American people, people with curly, coily, Afro coily hair. And it's a time for bonding. It's a time for just like really just connecting with your family members and loved ones. And I noticed that my daughter, from the age of around 2 and 3, was starting to ask a lot of questions about her hair. Mommy, why is my hair curly, coily? Why do you braid my hair? Why do you bead my hair? Why do I have to do these hairstyles? And I said, I thought, you don't really have to wear these hairstyles, but there is a lot of history. And I used to tell her that it's because maybe this is what mommy did when she was younger, but then I realized there's a bigger story behind that. Let's talk about the why behind these hairstyles so that she could really start to understand that there's a beautiful celebratory story behind our hair.
So people who read this get that story and they'll find out more about that story. And I'm sure that's part of the takeaway, right? To say, listen, I need you to appreciate where you come from.
Absolutely. And it really was, it's a kind of an extension of what I was going through as a young girl. My daughter was starting to have some insecurities about her hair, but I realized this is something that's very generational among people of color, right? We even though we may have affirming homes, some of us don't, but
Right.
many of us do have affirming homes, we go out into the outside world and we sometimes get different messages. And messages that tell us that we're not beautiful, or that our hair is not professional, or we're not worthy because of our aesthetic. And so I thought being more positive, incorporating positive language on our hair wash days in connection to our aesthetic would really help my daughter, also help my inner child, but also help other families.
A picture's worth 1,000 words. That's what it said, right? A picture's worth 1,000.
Absolutely.
So there's about thousands of pictures in here and thousands of words. What are some of the things that you want people to say? Listen, you know what? When you see this, no, beautiful, no, you know, applicable. What are some of the words that come to mind?
Oh, so much. I always say things like, you know, our hair is our crown. It's our
Right.
crowning glory, whether you have hair or not, right?
Right.
Because there's a beauty in the story behind that. But what I want people to see is, shout out to my illustrator, Princess Karibo, who's a beautiful illustrator from West Africa, Nigeria. I wanted to show that I really wanted to show children and adults that you can see yourselves in these characters. This is a relatable story where children are experiencing a level of insecurity, or there's a moment in time where they question who they are and their self-identity. And I want people to see through the beautiful art, through the symbolism, where I celebrate some of the regions in Africa where these hairstyles come from. I want them to see that this is a beautiful story, that there's more to the African American story, specifically in these books, than we learn in traditional educational environments.
And in Zahra's Wash Day, you've got a forward here from somebody, huh? So you thought I didn't see that, right? But go ahead, talk to me about this here.
Okay, so, you know, writing this book and broadening it to a series, because I realized that there's a message here. Every community has a hair story, so let's go further.
Right.
It opened up many doors for me. I was able to speak on many panels. I was living in LA at the time, and I was speaking on panels and going to different schools and talking about heritage and the history behind our hair. And I was able to speak on a panel where the beautiful actor and New York Times award-winning author, Lupita Nyong'o, her stylist, was actually on a call. And when she was looking for someone to maintain her locks, when she had these micro locks, sister locks on, while she was filming Wakanda Forever 2, he called on me because he knows that that's my background. I'm a hairstylist. And so I was able to meet her and maintain her hair for about a year and a half, 2 years, and develop a relationship with her. And I did ask her if she would be willing to write the foreword to Zahra's Wash Day, and I'm honored that she wrote me her beautiful hair story.
And for yourself, what's that feel like to have her write a forward, given the fact that, you know, we all know how we feel about Wakanda Forever, like, you know.
Absolutely. You know, Lupita is an amazing human being. I feel honored that she wanted to share her story in my book. I feel as though it says a lot as well about how connected we all are through hair. And so I am grateful that she is sharing her story through this book.
You know, I'm watching the Olympics, and I'm hearing a lot of stories about athletes and issues just germane to this, right? People having issues with, I can't wear my hair the way that I am. I have to wear it in a quote unquote culturally acceptable fashion. That's for another show and another platform, right? And so many people are missing their moment or feeling devalued because they authentically can't be themselves. But here you are in your writing saying, be authentic, be bold with it, be brash with it, and be okay with it.
Absolutely. I mean, these books are my way of contributing to the movement of self-esteem, building self-confidence, and also infusing culturally responsive education into our children's curriculum. As you stated, this is a topic that has been hot for many, many years. I won't tell my age, but we have all been, you know, witnessing even celebrities and notable people, like you mentioned the Olympics, somebody like Simone Biles, for instance, will automatically be scrutinized about her hair. Meanwhile, she's this incredibly accomplished, talented, smart representative of our country, and yet she's still made to feel less than or not professional or that she's not worthy because automatically her hair is just not good enough or not professional or not presentable. And so we see that in the school system where certain protocols in different schools are preventing our kids from either attending school or going to their graduations and celebrating their academic accomplishments because their hair doesn't meet certain protocols. And so this is a form of discrimination, and that's why even from a legislative perspective, we're hearing about legislation like the Crown Act, right? Creating a respectful and open world for natural hair. This legislation has been passed in 26 states, but we have 24 more to go, and there's a lot of debate here, right? I'm hoping in the next administration that it gets passed, but it really is a law that prohibits discrimination against cultural hairstyles, and it's needed.
Yeah, we got to come back and talk about that for sure. I want to get this question in because I think it's important real quickly. You talked about 2020. You talked about the fact of during COVID, this is when this was written. You talked about civil unrest.
Yes.
How much of watching what was going on during the civil unrest said, this is going to be my contribution and I got to do something?
It was a huge part. It was a huge part. My daughter and I, as you know, we learned about what was going on with George Floyd, but I'm a Bronx native.
Right.
I grew up in the Bronx in the 80s. And so there are many stories like this. We hear about, you know, the Central Park, the Exonerated Five, right? All the different names and hashtags. And it was very triggering for me in 2020 when we were going through all of the civil unrest. And so I protested. I walked, you know, I did so many different things. And I thought, wow, I'm going to put power to my pen. And this is my way of using my creativity and turning something really powerful into a movement.
Right. Pain and the
To
purpose and the passion.
It's all about empowerment.
That's it. Thank you so much. Zenda Walker is an author, and she's got these beautiful books here, Zara's Wash Day, Zion's Grown. Where do people get them before we go?
Absolutely. www.knowyourheritage, HAIRITAGE.com. You can get it on all online bookstores, including Amazon.com. And Zion's Crown comes out September 10th. Zara's Wash Day is out now, but you can pre-order at any of those online outlets as well.
Looking forward to it. Zenda, thank you so much for being with us. Now listen, I want you to know if you want more information, go ahead and visit the website knowyourheritage.com, and you'll get these beautiful books and definitely some empowerment. Listen, coming to the end of our show today, I want to thank all of our guests for joining us. Most of all, I want to thank you, the viewer, for tuning in. Now, if you missed any part of today's show, you can catch Read Cablecast, Optimum's Channel 67, Verizon Files, that'd be Channel 2133, or watch us anytime on the web at BronxNet.org. As always, you can catch a brand new episode of Open with my girl Rena Valentine on Friday, the Cafe Con Leche lady. Yes, yes, yes. Come on, check her out on Friday. This wraps up this episode for us. I'm Daren Jaime saying, listen, take care, God bless, but do me a favor, make sure you keep this channel wide open. We'll talk to you soon.